In this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to handle any objection that comes your way, how to prevent them in the first place, and how to have the correct beliefs around them so you don't have anxiety when they happen. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Garrett Campbell. I've done over $6.5 million in sales and counting. The number's always going to change. I maintain a 60% close rate throughout my sales career, and handling objections was essential to having that high of a close rate. And this objection handling video may be different than the ones you see on the internet, because I'm not going to give you these one-liners that just look cool for YouTube, but are actually tangible stuff that has happened in real world conversations that have resulted in me closing anywhere from $6,000 to $40,000 deals. But before I even give you the responses to these specific objections, which are going to be time, needing a business partner or a wife to speak to, or it being too expensive. That's the three that we're going to cover. You're going to have result. You're going to have answers to at the end of this video. So stay till the end if you want to get those specifically. Here are 3 beliefs you'd have around objections so you'd have no issues as they come up. Number 1, when your conviction outweighs their doubt, they buy. Think of it as like 2 opposing forces. Like when you have a magnet and there's like the north and like the south, and you try to push them together, they kind of like bounce off each other, and then sometimes they like stick, right? It's like that push and pull like force is what's happening. You have your conviction, which is how much you believe in the product or service, and you have their doubt, which is how much they believe or really do not believe in the product or service. If they're more doubtful than you believe in the product or service, they win this battle of this push and pull, and then they don't buy. In the same way, if your conviction is so strong, even though they maybe have some doubt, they will believe in your conviction so much that it erases their doubt, and then they will buy. So you need to understand this push and pull force. So that's why it's so easy to sell things you actually freaking believe in. Number 2, focus on solving their problem, not closing the deal. Salespeople have this problem to where they just get in this loop of saying anything they can to close the deal, and it rubs people the wrong way. It's what I call commission breath. They'll ask if the product has something, like, oh yeah, we have that, we have this, we have that, we have all these great things, and they don't just actually answer the question. I think when you come from a place, when you come from a posture of, I don't care whether you buy it or not, I know you and your business have this problem, and I just want to solve it for you. When you come from that stance, they will trust you so much more than when you actually make them a recommendation. Even if that recommendation is obviously buying the service, they trust you enough that, okay, this guy's an expert. He's literally just here to help, whether it's with or without us. So when he actually recommends buying the service, I trust this guy. If you're just trying to cram the product down their throat, whether it's a good fit for them or not, they don't trust you. So if you can really internalize, listen, Mr. Prospect, I don't care whether you buy or not, I want to solve your problem. So whatever you came here for today, like, let's tackle it. Number 3, detach from the outcome. This is going to be a recurring theme that you guys are going to hear from me on this channel, especially if you're subscribed, which you need to do right now, by the way. And when I say detach from the outcome, this is what I mean. You can't be so fixated on getting the sale that it's all you think about it. Like I just said earlier, I call it commission breath. This isn't what you should actually be saying, but this is what you should be thinking. I don't care whether you buy it or not. I know we have a phenomenal service. You're gonna get a crazy ROI. You're gonna have a crazy, great experience if you do buy it. So I know you want it. You should have it. And I know if you don't have it, you're just gonna miss out. But if you're trying to do anything you can to get the sale and you're super like pushy and so needy for it, it gives you the sense of like commission breath, and it rubs people the wrong way because their brain goes to, okay, this guy needs the sale really bad. Maybe they don't have very many clients, which is why they need me so bad as a client. Maybe they don't have very many clients because they're not good at what they do. I'm not gonna buy. Where in the same length, if it's the opposite and you're like, this guy literally is like not trying to do all these things most salespeople do, like, bottom 99% of salespeople do, to like try to convince me and say all these things to get me to buy. He seems like he doesn't care whether I buy it or not. Maybe they have an overwhelm of clients, like they have so many that like they don't really need me as a client. Like, the business is already doing well. Maybe it's because they have so many clients. Maybe they have so many clients because it's great at what they do. You kind of see what I'm talking about here. This goes back to relationships. If a guy's kind of acting nonchalant about, talking with the girl or whatever, she naturally thinks, man, he doesn't need me super bad. Maybe he has options, maybe whatever. So the girl will actually work to try to get closer with him and talk with him more. And now she's the one trying to connect with him. And by acting less interested, the other party gains more interest. It's this weird human psychology thing. It's this game of push and pull again, to where the more you're pulling away, the more they're pushing, the more they're grabbing at you. and vice versa. If you're the one that's super pushy, they're the one that's pulling away. It's the magnet game, right? Of this back and forth. So the more you pull away and push people away, the more they pull at you and want you, and it makes the sale so freaking easy. Another thing that's crucial here is objections before the price is dropped are just minor obstacles. These are like speed bumps, but objections after price are actually objections, and those are a bigger deal. Those are harder to get around. So it is so much easier to handle, these small objections we call obstacles before the price is dropped. If you tackle them then, it's so much easier to get around, which is why it's crucial to ask what I like to call objection-seeking questions. And the reason I ask objection-seeking questions, and again, that's why I said this is not gonna be like any other sales video you've seen on YouTube, is because we wanna handle every single objection before we get to the actual price, to the point to where the only way that they will not buy the product, their only real objection can be price, because we've isolated and canceled out every single possible freaking objection before we drop the price. And to give you guys a phenomenal analogy of this, I'm sure you guys have all watched 8 Mile with Eminem, right? So in the rap battle, when it's the very last scene, they do the last rap battle and Eminem goes up first. And what he says is, I am what? I am a fucking bomb. I do live in a trailer with my mom, like all that stuff, right? He's basically saying like, everything that you're gonna say about me in this diss track, like in this rap battle, I'm just gonna call out now. And then when the other guy gets given the mic, he's like he was speechless. He couldn't literally say a word. He choked, right? It's because he handled every objection that this guy was gonna say about him, he already took care of. So he's like, I have nothing left to say. You're doing the exact same freaking thing on sales calls. You're canceling out every single objection. You're handling every single objection before it even comes up. So when it comes time to where you drop price, they're like it's too expensive? Like they don't even have objections. I don't deal with objections. So when you get to that point, maybe they have a couple questions around price or something, and then it's like it's pretty much taken care of. And if they do have a massive glaring objection, or they just straight up are not a good fit, that's taken care of within 15 minutes, and you're not wasting your time an hour on this call. So let me explain how I set the agenda and how I ask these objection-seeking questions. So when you hop on a call, of course you have your minor chit chat. Oh, cool, where you're from, what do you do, what do you have going on? And then I call what's called setting the agenda. This is where you set the tone for the fucking sales call. I'll say, hey, Mr. Prospect, just so you fully understand how this call works, largely what we do, and then you can insert whatever thing it is that you do. So it's like, this is exactly what we do, just so you know you're on the correct call. Transparently, we turn down about 60% of people who hop on these calls. Reason being is we only give offers to people we know for a fact we can get results for. So with that being said, I'm gonna be asking you a couple questions throughout this call, and if it's made apparent that we cannot get you results, or you're not a good fit to work together, I will end the call. However, if it's made apparent that you check every box and you are a good fit for us, I'll explain what it looks like working together and we can get started. Is that cool? What does this do to a prospect's brain? It's, oh my God, they're not just closing everyone that has a credit card. Like they actually care about getting people results. So if they get an offer, they have full conviction that, oh my God, I'm going to get results with these people, because if not, he literally would have just ended the call. And there's also this thing of status, right? Of very primitively in humans' brains, they always want invited to the party. And this is a very tribal thing back to when humans were in tribes. If you got kicked out of the tribe, that basically meant death, because you don't have people that can, give you shelter, give you warmth, give you food, all that fun stuff. If you're, a lone wolf, you're probably gonna die. So we have a very primitive fear in our brain of, being invited to the party or being a part of the tribe. So when you're like, hey, you might not get an offer, you might get, kicked out of the party, kicked out of the tribe, they're gonna work to sell you on how good their business is or why they are a good fit for your service. And then we get to the point where this sales call is almost like a job interview, and they're selling you on why they are allowed to buy your service. So it's like, if you worked your whole life to get into Harvard and they handed you an acceptance letter and then you found out it was $40,000 a semester, you're not gonna say no, because you worked your whole life to get there. It's kind of the same vibe of what we're going for on this call. So now, when we're going throughout this call, and they're like, yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm a really busy guy. I work 12-hour days. Like, okay, well, honestly, Mr. Prospect, a big concern of mine is where are you gonna allocate time to actually fit this into your schedule? So you're not like, oh, don't worry, it only takes 30 minutes a day. We can make it work. We'll squeeze it in. That is being super needy and pushing for the sale and trying to do anything we can to make it work for them. You have to flip things on their head. It's like, all right, dude, kind of a big concern of mine is you're not gonna have time for this. So like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna cut out of your schedule to make time for this? Because obviously it's important, right? You see kind of what we're going for here. So these are objection-seeking questions. Well, it sounds to me like you don't have time for this. So are you gonna be able to make it work, or do I need to end the call? Or you're not gonna get an offer. So they're working to get an offer from you. Another thing that you could do is, if they say like, hey, to be honest, like funds are kind of tight right now, business is kind of slowed down, recession, blah, blah, blah. Be like, okay, but I just want to make things clear. I don't want to waste your time here. It's going to be a couple grand to work with us. Is that going to completely deter you from, hearing us out and potentially working together? No, I'll put the funds together. I'll make it work. Or, if that's the case and they say, yeah, it's like, cool. Like, don't spend time with an hour on a call with a prospect who doesn't have 2 pennies to rub together, just end the call. So you ask all these objection-seeking questions, because what objections are people going to have? I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I have to talk to my business partner. I have to talk to my wife. I need to think about it. I'm not sure this would be a good fit for me. Blah, 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 blah. So just literally slash all of these objections before they even come. Also extremely crucial to be conscious of their language. Any like so-so wishy-washy language, I sniff out like a fucking hawk. I don't know if hawks actually sniff things out. I don't think they even have them there. I can look it out like a hawk or whatever the fuck it's called. Doesn't matter. When you say like, assuming like we knock it out of the park, 3 months down the road, what exactly would it look like for you? Assuming we crush, and like, let's say you're like a marketing agency. It's like, cool, we're running ads for the next 3 months here. What's an ideal world for you as far as the type of client you're getting on the phone, how much money you're making, how many calls you have booked, like, paint me that picture so I know we're on the same page. Well, I mean, maybe if we could have the calendar full to where we could have like 4 calls a day, and like, I don't know if that's possible, but maybe if we could do that, we could possibly make like 30K a month, 3 months down the road. That's just conveying that they have a lot of doubt, and we have this conviction and doubt, pulley that we're working on, right? So those are all doubt-based language. So I would just be like, possibly, maybe? Like, what do you mean by that? Well, I don't really know how this marketing thing works. Like, it's hard to kind of promise results until they kind of happen. It's like, listen, Mr. Prospect, like we've scaled multiple companies to like 7 and even like 8 figures. Believe me, we can get you to 30K a month and get you 4 calls a day. So does that come from maybe a lack in this working for you, or a lack in our ability to deliver? I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. So we're like sniffing out any reason to believe that they have doubt or maybe wouldn't do well. And just little things like their language, like saying maybe or possibly or maybe if it could possibly do this thing. Like we're like sniffing that out immediately, because if they're saying all this half-ass language, when you tell them it's $10,000 at the end of the call, like they're not buying. So you need to sniff it out before we get to the price. The core of objection handling is simply invalidating their argument. It's not you versus me, it's us versus the problem. So this is kind of like the cycle. You need to like the mental model of the cycle you kind of have to walk them through. It's they have some objection or something. It's like, okay, well, how did you come up with that idea? Is this idea based on a solid foundation? You break that belief, and then you show them, do you understand? Like, do you see how this belief does not serve you? And then we go right back in for the close again. That's kind of the mental model. Like, let's say they said, I think it's just kind of like too expensive. And you're like, okay, what makes you say that? Like, well, you guys are $12,000. I saw one of your competitors, they had this one thing that's like, $4,000. Okay. Do they provide the same thing, or are we different? And like, well, you do this, and this. And really, they pretty much just send me like a couple videos. I'm like, okay, so do you see how we have a different price because we do way more and we have a higher value service? Yeah, I do see that. And you said earlier you wanted to get to like $30,000 a month, and you think someone sending you, a couple videos on how to do it versus actually doing it for you would likely get you there faster, and there's a higher likelihood that we could get you there. Do you see how there's a clear difference? Yeah, okay, I guess I do. Okay, so now that's the cycle we kind of walk them through. As promised, here are the 3 most common objections and how to actually handle them. A very, very, very common one is, I don't have the time. We're in a really busy season right now. I just think, down the road, we'll for sure be ready. Or there's always this future impending event that after that thing happens, then they'll do it. And all of these, like, if this event happens, then this thing will happen, is like honestly hilarious to me, because most of these objections are just always bullshit, I'll be honest. And like the funniest ones are like when you sell a service that gives someone like a financial ROI, like, well, You know, when we close these 3 clients, then we'll have the money and then we'll get started. Where I'm like, okay, well, we're selling a sales training here because you are struggling to close clients. So how would your sales get better so you can close clients if the reason we are here is because you're struggling to close deals and you can't close clients? This is a prerequisite of this thing happening. It's like saying, after I die, then I will write my will so that I know, but it doesn't make sense to write my will until I'm dead. So, you know, all my family and loved ones can get all of my stuff. You have to write the will before it so that they can get the thing. If not, this stuff goes to the government. This is a prerequisite for this thing happening. So any ROI, based, like financial ROI based service is like, once we will make more money or we get this invoice paid or whatever, then we will do the thing. It's like the service is the prerequisite for the thing happening. So how the fuck would that make sense? If they're in a busy season of life, it's like, okay, well, if you're super busy right now, don't you think this would be the best time to have the most support possible because you're in a busy season? Like, what happens if we start doing this when you're not busy at all and you have nothing going on, and then you have all this support and then you get busy again? You're just going to be overwhelmed. It's like, okay, so walk me through this picture. So you're too busy right now and we provide you support in this busy season of life. You want to wait to where you're not busy. So when you're not busy and you have all your time to dedicate to this, and then you have our support. What my fear is, and what my question is for you is, let's assume we work together, the thing gets implemented, we start doing your marketing for you, whatever, then we don't have support for you anymore, then you get busy. Is everything gonna fall apart? Yeah, of course it is. So why don't you think it's the best time to get the most support now while you're in a busy season of life? So the next time where you're not busy, it's gonna be a breeze. Boom, we handled that. Another extremely common objection is another person needs to be there to validate the decision, whether it's a wife, whether it's a business partner. These are extremely common, and my favorite way to get around this is called the bladder close. What I call the bladder close is actually because it's like the bladder, right? So I'm like, listen, Mr. Prospect, I know you need to speak with your wife. I believe she's in the house with you, like you said earlier. How about we do this? I really gotta run to the bathroom. I'm gonna fill up my glass of water. I'm gonna give you 3, 4, 5 minutes. I'll come right back. Feel free to put yourself on mute. When I come back, just kind of give me like a direct yes or no. I'll give you a sec to talk with her. That cool? Cool. And if the business partner, the wife is literally sitting right next to him, do this every single time. It's like, why would we book a whole other call? Just talk now. You guys are sitting right next to each other. Because they have the highest likelihood of buying right then and there while they just heard, the whole, quote unquote sales pitch. If the wife or the business partner or whatever is not there, you could still do the bladder close and be like, hey, is it cool if you just like call them, shoot them a text real quick, see if we could have them hop on the call, or you guys can talk, give them a call when the conversation's over. Let's give me a yes or no, still do the bladder close. And honestly, again, the goal is objection prevention, not objection handling. So in your emails, in your texts and stuff before the call, I always put in there, you must, if you have a business partner or a wife or partner, whatever that needs to be present, have them on the call or else we will cancel the meeting. So then they know they're getting pestered with like emails and texts saying like, if every decision maker is not there, don't even show up. Almost every single time it's there. Sometimes it happens. And then lastly is simply the money objection. So ingrain this into your brain. When value outweighs price, they make a buying decision. Pretty damn simple. It's like, if the price is below what you believe the value to be, you will not make a buying decision. That's how your brain justifies every single purchase ever. And then to take it another step further, the amount of energy it takes to earn a certain amount of money will dictate whether they make the buying decision or not. Like me personally, our business makes about $80,000 a month as we speak now. So when I look at like a $1,000 purchase, I'm like a couple hours of like work, I'm like, okay, I don't really think much of it. Like it's not much energy for me to exert to get that amount of money back. But for someone who, makes $3,000 a month, they're like, oh my God, this is like a week and a half of my life. Like that's a lot of working hours and energy that I have to exert to get that amount of money back. So it's a bigger deal in their head. So the way they get around the money objection is kind of what I just talked about earlier. It's like, cool, like you said it was too expensive. What kind of made you, come to that conclusion? Like, well, to be honest, I really just don't have the money. That's just that. I see. So there's a key difference here in I see the value, I just literally do not have the money, and I have the money, but I don't see the value. Like these are two different schools of like money objection. So if they see the value, they just don't have the money, cool. It's like, let's create an action plan to get the funds together. So it's very common, like the whole college education system is predicated on people taking out loans to actually buy things. Like The college education system would literally collapse if you couldn't have student loans, because who the hell has $20,000 like every semester, every year? It's like $80,000 over a 4-year period. Like if middle class America had to do that out of pocket, no one would fucking go to college. You don't get an ROI from it anyway. Loans, credit cards, payment plans are phenomenal for solving it. So if they see the value and they have urgency that was generated throughout the call, they're gonna buy. In the other length, if they don't see the value, but they have the money, that's a problem, and we can get around that. So I would just say, got you. What made you say it was too expensive? And then they're gonna tell you. And again, we're literally just going through this cycle of how did you come up with that idea, break that belief, and then show them how that belief does not serve them. I really just think it's too expensive. Like when we compare it to like other people, you guys are a little bit more expensive. Like, okay, well, would you trust us more if we charged you less? That's a really good question. Because if you have like a Lambo that's like 20 grand, you're like, what is wrong with this Lambo? Like, why is it so cheap? It must suck. The engine must be broke or something. So there's an equal value between, if the price is higher, humans naturally assume it must be more valuable. So of course they wouldn't trust you more if you charge them less. So when they ask that question, it kind of breaks their belief of like, okay, well, do I want something that's really good or do I want something that's really cheap? Because these are two different things. I just want the result. But when you ask that question, it usually breaks their belief. And you're like, okay, well, you just told me that you want to hit $30,000 a month within the next 90 days. And right now you guys are at like 10K a month. So we're literally looking to triple the entire business within a relatively short amount of time. Do you think it makes sense to cheap out on getting a cheaper resource that gets less results, given that this is your goal? Do you see how that might not serve you to do something that is probably gonna give you subpar results? And in the grand scheme of things, we have a $10,000 service. You're looking to make an additional $20,000 per month. That's about $240,000 per year, and all that we charge is $10,000. So given that we're gonna basically charge $10,000 and you're gonna get an additional $240,000 every single year, can you walk me through again how you view that as too expensive? I'm gonna be like, oh shit, yeah, you're right. Like I'm just gonna do it. And that is all for this video. Those are the beliefs that will serve you well on handling objections, how you should view the frame, objection prevention, the mental framework in which we use to break objections, and then the 3 ways to handle very common objections. If you got value from this video, comment below anything you do to get around objections and subscribe while you're at it, and stay tuned for more videos just like this.